looking at a higher tier analysis of My Last Duchess. This very much goes down the rabbit hole, but it is a tried and tested method. When I did my GCSE, I received a grade 9 by using these key concepts in the poetry section. Get ready and let's begin. Think outside the box and be creative. No point is too crazy as long as you are able to justify it. To help become familiar with symbolism through extra reading, poets generally want to hide religious and political Easter eggs within their work. In your exam, if you panic, remember the title is always a great literary device to start analysing. The poet has spent a long time picking a title to hook an audience. In My Last Duchess, the title itself can be pulled apart easily. My, the possessive pronoun, which already makes the Duchess sound like an object, something to be owned. Last is an adjective which implies that the Duchess is now gone, but is ambiguous as to how many there were before her. This is important because it could denote that the Duke gets through wives frequently. Duchess is a very important noun because it is a title and not a name. This is a very direct reference to the theme that marriage, status, and monetary gain is far more valuable than the woman herself or her identity and life. Ferrara is key context to the poem. Ferrara is a city in Italy, which was home to a duke from 1533-1597, who could be the inspiration behind Browning's character, the Duke. Alfonso il Deste was a member of the prestigious House d'Este and was married 3 times with no children or heirs. Ironically, the Duke was the last Duke of D'Este. Pandolf is mentioned by name thrice within the first 16 lines of the poem. This is important because the Duke is being portrayed as a character who is arguably obsessed with the material, not sentimental value of the portrait. It may also be worth mentioning that by repeating his name 3 times, Browning could be making another reference to religion via either the Holy or Unholy Trinity. Religion and status were closely linked in Browning's era, but even more so in Renaissance Italy, which was strongly Catholic. Farrar suggests that he is a friar as well as an esteemed artist. Throughout history, religious standing has been synonymous with social status because it was believed that the upper class were chosen to be privileged by God, and by proxy, the lower class was said to be punished for a reason. Notably, Alfonso il Deste was a fan of the arts. He spent public treasure on preserving art and architecture. In My Last Duchess line 22, Browning uses hyphens in the quote, "a heart, how shall I say," to create a break in the rhythm of the monologue, crafted to feel like hesitation when spoken aloud. Browning does not do this in any other line, as the Duke is portrayed as controlled and poised, which could imply that he hesitated on purpose to manipulate the guest. Paint must never hope to reproduce the faint half-flush that dies along her throat. This dialogue from Fra Pandolf can be interpreted as a reference to Shakespeare's Othello. In the play Othello, the eponymous character is consumed by paranoia and jealousy surrounding beliefs that his new wife Desdemona is cheating on him. Driven by rage, the tragedy of Othello comes to fruition when he murders his wife by strangulation. Both Othello and the Duke suffer from the same unjust paranoia surrounding their wives and lack of trust in their marriages. As well as this, both wives become victims to their husband's jealousy. Desdemona through murder, and the last Duchess through implied murder too. The entire poem shares similarities with Othello, but lines 16 to 18 could be interpreted as a more direct reference to Desdemona's murder. By using the words dies and throat in the same line, Browning creates quite a striking connotation to strangulation. The Duke quotes this comment from Fra Pandolf. It could suggest a very ambiguous, vague confession, as though the Duke strangled the last Duchess and remembers Fra Pandolf's comment out of a subconscious guilt, reminding him of her death. Shakespeare's use of guilt in Othello, which ultimately drives the character to suicide at the conclusion of the play. Intriguingly, Othello also takes place in Venice, Italy, which is a strikingly similar setting as Browning's use of Ferrara, Italy. Othello also takes place in Cyprus, which was colonized by Italy at the time. Cyprus also followed an Olympian polytheistic religion, which means that many Greek gods were also worshipped in Cyprus. This is important because in My Last Duchess, the Duke ends the monologue by asking the emissary to notice Neptune, a bronze statue of Poseidon, the Greek god of the sea, which is known as Neptune due to Roman influence. By ending the monologue with a reference to Hellenistic polytheism, Browning may be directly referencing Shakespeare's Othello once again, because the play also ends in Cyprus. Taming is an important choice of verb because it implies subduing a beast into domestication or submission. Because the Duke holds such a high opinion of himself, 900 years old name, Browning could be implying that the Duke sees himself as Neptune, struggling to tame and control women. The painting of the eponymous, yet voiceless, Last Duchess symbolizes the treatment of brides throughout history as tools for financial gain. This could be through dowry, social or political ladder climbing. Dowry is a payment of property or currency from a bride's family to the groom. When the Duchess was already married to the Duke, the financial gain was already reaped, leaving her sole purpose as whatever the Duke wished. Because the Duchess didn't conform to the Duke's wishes, she vanished on his orders, leaving her only remains as a beautiful